Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the No Name Cinema Society. I've been encouraged by some of you viewers to try a little scruff. So here it is. You have it. You see it. So feel free to write in if any of you are actually watching, and let me know how you feel about it. I was thinking about shaving for tonight or maybe for next week, but let's see how you guys feel about it. First. And you know, I want to extend a lovely Happy St. Patrick's Day to my cohorts here. Even though it's the day before St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, J Money.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, JB. You know, let me add, I've always wanted to see you with really thick, curly mutton chops, so maybe you can work on that next time.
All right, it sounds like a plan. Happy St. Patrick's Day, the day before St. Patrick's Day, Davie Joe.
And to you as well, love the beard. Love it.
Okay. I appreciate that. Do you guys drink coffee?
And how?
Well, put some extra sugar in it because I feel like it's going to be a long discussion. That's a line from the movie, guys. It's a line from the movie. See what I did there? But before we get to discuss our movie Run All Night, we actually had some viewer feedback that I wanted to share with you guys regarding Chappie. I did some. No one's email putting comments on the page, but people did stop me. And I just want to make the point that generally when people stop me, they want to punch me in the face or tell me how wrong I am. You know, my opinions seem to be in the minority time and time again. But I was stopped by two different people in Los Angeles this week, people that I knew. I mean, those are the people that I presume are watching. And they said to me that they also really like Chappie. And I thought I was in the minority, but it keeps coming up. That it's happened today and yesterday. People said, I watched your show, and I'm glad to hear that you like Chappie and you defended it well. So I think it's interesting there are other people out there that, and one even said that I convinced him to go see it.
Wow.
So, and you guys said you guys heard some positive things about Chappie too over the course of the week.
I definitely have heard from people that like the movie.
Yeah, I feel like if you look online, the popular consensus is that the common man, not to sound a little too snooty here, gives it high marks. I mean, it certainly speaks to a certain kind of crowd looking for what it is.
So wait a minute. Does that make me a common man? Because I feel like my reasons for liking it was actually kind of esoteric.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the broader message and less about the basic plot line. And certainly the performances, I had issues with. But I mean, I think the reasons that I liked it is actually the overall profound message and the way that it delivered it cinematically.
Huh.
That's all I got, everybody. Davie Joe.
I think you liked it for very deep and educated reasons, and I think it sucked.
One person even said to me that. They saw it after we saw a review, and they said it was the best film they've seen this year. To which I replied, "It's March." Yeah. And I've probably seen less than 10 movies released in 2014. But I mean, and I wouldn't even call Chappie the best out of those 10. But
I've seen 3 movies in the theater this year so far, and Chappie was also the best movie I've seen in theaters this year so far, and I didn't like it. No.
Okay.
Chappie's the worst movie.
The two movies that I like better than Chappie are two movies that were ridiculed by the critics in a way I don't understand. But I'm gonna say at some point, if you take a chance on Black Cat, that's gonna be the only thing I'm gonna say about.
Okay. I do want to see that.
So anyway, so that's the viewer feedback section. Hopefully we can get more viewer feedback sections coming up in the future. But I want to go back to our indie spotlight from 2 weeks ago because it actually sort of plays into tonight's movie. So I wanted to do this first because recently Davie Joe took the time to see Little Accidents, which is a movie we saw 2 weeks ago. So Davie Joe, what did you think of my indie spotlight 2 weeks ago?
Well, I think you were spot on. Boyd Holbrook, it's quite a performance. He's a tremendous actor. And just to give people a little background on it, he plays a miner that is very badly injured in a mining accident, and the way he plays the character as a guy recovering from these injuries, he just does an amazing job. The story is definitely it's very heavy, but it's just a very well written, well performed. Elizabeth Banks does a great job, and their kids. The kids are great. I think that I can't stress to people enough that you should go see this movie. It's a great movie.
Agreed. Obviously, I'm trying to do something technical here, and it failed me. But J Money, you still haven't seen it, right?
Still haven't seen it. Although now that you guys have just mentioned that Boyd Holbrook is in it, I am actually kind of intrigued, especially since he is going to pop up in the feature we're going to talk about shortly here.
Yeah, and so what I was trying to do is trying to get this picture up of Boyd and Elizabeth Banks in Little Accidents, a picture I didn't have 2 weeks ago, and it's tiny on the screen now, but yeah, Boyd Holbrook, and of course he's a part of. I didn't know he was in Run All Night, so he is in tonight's movie, so that's kind of interesting. I did not. One drawback of Little Accidents to me is Elizabeth Banks. I think she sort of foul-tipped it. I think she sort of missed it.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't buy her accent or anything like that, so I don't know about that aspect of it. But I mean, like, I think you're dead on about the kids and the script and Boyd Holbrook. Those are the things that really made the movie special to me. So that is our segue into Run All Night. And so let's start with opening thoughts. And Davie Joe went first last week, so you're up first, J Money.
Okay. I like the fact that we're so egalitarian here. I like that we're taking turns, like on a seesaw. I would say that, and you guys, I have honestly no idea what you think I would think about this movie, but I liked it. I liked it enough, at least. I think that it was probably a fine, if not maybe even above average entry into what has become sort of a very specific genre of Liam Neeson-helmed movies about what is essentially the same kind of character going through the same kind of emotions and sort of the same kind of action.
Liam Neeson did not direct the movie.
No, Liam Neeson did not direct the movie. When I say helmed, I would say that this movie and a lot of other movies that he is involved with these days are kind of based on a character archetype that he has, in a lot of ways, perfected and created for himself in this latter half of his career.
And here is Mr. Holbrook, the aforementioned Mr. Holbrook, in the film. Just to keep it all tied together. All right, Davie Joe, you're up next.
I mean, I think this movie was much better than it had any right to be. I mean, it was just a lot of fun, and I thought, it's definitely, it kind of gave me a bit of a Tarantino feel in the fact that I could definitely see some homages to other movies. The two movies that I thought it sampled from were, of course, Heat. Everyone's saying Heat because there's a dinner conversation, and also I thought the bar scene that was kind of a Unforgiven moment as well, and I just enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. So we're all flipped now because I thought it was really awful. Pretty bad.
I was still waiting for this. This is great. I love this.
I was hoping we'd all be on the same page for this one because it seemed so clear to me how hollow this movie was, and I wasn't gonna say. I was telling myself I was not gonna say anything too mean because I wanted to try and be a little nicer, but I can't even recommend it. Like a lot of times I'll say go see it for yourself and decide for yourself, but I can't do that this time around. It was that poor to me.
Sure.
So anyway, all right. So what The Unforgiven is at the end. So I mean, I guess it's up to me to go through my complaints. My main thing is, I mean, overall, I think the key word is hollow. I think the film, any emotion that was trying to portray in the film, I thought was very surface. I didn't believe Joel Kinnaman's anger. I didn't really believe the Ed Harris Liam Neeson relationship. That I didn't feel like they took the time to establish that at all. I didn't believe that Liam Neeson, who was like a drunk in the beginning of the movie, he got on his feet and got to be like the action hero that quickly. I liked that at least he played his age. He was a grandfather. But aside from that, I didn't believe anything almost anything of the movie. I think the film could have, plot-wise, I think the film could have used a little bit of moral ambiguity. Because I mean, like, it was like, and we, you know, what we didn't do again is we didn't summarize it. And
Right.
you know, I'm going to try and be, because I did a little run on talking last time when I tried to do that. But basically, incidents occur that create a situation where Ed Harris's son goes after Liam Neeson's son, and Liam Neeson's son and Ed Harris and Liam Neeson are friends, coworkers, colleagues for years in crime, and so Liam Neeson has to kill. This is the beginning. This is the setup. This is all in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away. Liam Neeson has to kill Boyd Holbrook, who is Ed Harris's son, in order to save his own son, and then Ed Harris feels obligated to come after Liam Neeson and Liam Neeson's son, played by Joel Kinnaman, and they've got to run all night. So, I mean, it was so clearly... I wish there was, like, something about the killing of Boyd Holbrook that was a little more ambiguous in terms of right and wrong. You know, something that wasn't so clear that, like, Liam Neeson and company were in the right, like they were justified, and even like I feel like they tried to maybe add some of that with his past and being a hitman in his past. However, I mean, like, he's like, oh, he killed 17 people before, which doesn't seem to be half as much as he killed in this very movie. And so I found the whole thing disingenuous, and I think the moral ambiguity thing that I keep mentioning, I feel like it would have increased the stakes a little bit and increased my interest, because it wouldn't have been so clear to me that you know what was going on. But I wanted to have more doubts. I wanted to be more, and I think that I would have been more emotionally invested, because I could have cared less who died and who lived. I really had no interest at all in any of that, and I thought it was sloppy. There's one scene I thought was pretty well directed. Other than that, oh, and the contrivances. Don't get me started on the contrivances. I feel like I'm on a monologue. The kid being in the limo. Come on, guys. You knew better. That Kersher getting the limo, that's an important plot point. That's going to be important for you to get in the limo now. There's no reason for him to be... Can I sit in that limo? Terrible. Terrible screenwriting.
Maybe, can I interrupt you for a second?
Please.
Because what I would like to say at this point is that on the surface of everything you just said, I actually agree with you. I think that in a lot of ways there was a hollowness to this movie, and there isn't anything that's really necessarily believable about it. But I also think you're asking a little bit too much about this kind of movie to begin with. I mean, this is a specific style movie that's really, about very kind of generic things, because people know what they're going to get. This is a style movie that's based on watching people wind up Liam Neeson do his thing, bring his particular set of skills to a given subject matter, and then take care of it. And I don't think that people really wanted...
I like the phrase set of skills from Taken. That was well done.
Particular set of skills is the thing that Liam Neeson has decided to bring to all the movies he's done since Taken, basically. And, it's the kind of thing where this was not a movie that I felt, excited about. This isn't the kind of movie that I felt compelled to... I would not feel compelled to see this again. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I guess I would recommend it in the case of not really necessarily having much else to watch. I thought, though, it was still, a competent noirish movie. I mean, everybody was hitting their marks. Everybody was doing what you expected them to do, if not doing it with any kind of real vigor.
But I mean, what if Joel Kinnaman were a little stronger? Like, what if his I
totally agree with you, and I totally agree with what you're saying about ways of improving it, but that's an issue of script. I don't think that's an issue with their performances necessarily. I think the script in general.
Maybe, but I think it's a combined thing, because I certainly didn't buy. Yes, backstory could have helped, but even him looking across the table, saying like "get out of my house" and things like that. It felt disingenuous. I did not buy that. That's an acting moment.
Honestly, any one of us could have written the script. I mean, it was the kind of thing where it followed a very clearly defined path. You knew exactly where it was going to go. You knew exactly what was going to happen.
You need to justify yourself. Is it just an action thing for you? Is it just that it had some cool action moments? There's one scene that I thought was well done, but I mean, like, the plot is empty.
I don't think the plot is empty. I think the plot's actually pretty complex. But first, and I'll spot you.
Now, you just used the word complex when talking about Run All Night. I want you to think about that real hard. Are you sure you don't have some of J Money's Malbec over there?
No, I'm not. In fact, I mean, I think that I think he had a lot of character development in this movie, or at least a lot more than I would have expected. I'll give you the Kinnaman. I thought there were times when he...
I mean, like, more than I expected. I don't even know how to answer that, but I mean, like, every bit of character development was forced and disingenuous.
Yeah, because you already know what these characters are. These were none of these characters were original in any sense whatsoever. They were all basically really broad art we've already seen, and that's not good enough.
That's not good enough. I want to see it in the movie. Like,
well, I'm not necessarily, but this is not a prestige quality movie. This is a very specific sort of genre pick. This is a genre pick speaking to a very specific type of actress or actor.
Look,
it's speaking to a very specific kind of character.
Chinatown's a genre pick. Taken. All right, I mean, but let's stay within the genre. Let's refine this. Liam Neeson. Let's refine this to the Liam Neeson action, one man versus the world action movie, like a subset of a genre. Let's refine it to that. In that world, Taken has all those things, whereas this does not.
What did you see in Taken that elevates it above this?
Yeah.
I saw an actual desperate father. I saw. I mean, like a situation that I bought a lot more than I buy this one.
That couldn't have come across any stronger in this movie. I don't know how he could have done any better.
What do you mean? What you could have done it? You could have like actually established these relationships instead of like telling me that they've worked together for 30 years. I want to feel it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see more connection between them to even care that they're going after each other.
Oh, no.
And I'll give you another example. Road to Perdition has all that. Road to Perdition is the exact same movie.
This is the exact same movie as Road to Perdition, a cheap copy of it. Yeah, right.
I disagree though. It's Road to Perdition is not an action movie. This is an action movie.
Well,
this is a movie for Liam Neeson to shoot a lot of people.
Plot, and it rips off the plot and doesn't take the time to fill in the blanks that Road to Perdition does.
It's not, but it's the whole point of the movie. It's a different genre. I mean, look at
not good enough. Every story, every film, every story needs to establish its characters. Assuming it wants to be a narrative film, it doesn't matter the genre, whether it's a musical, a western, or a comedy. It works within the same parameters. 3-act structure. Establish your characters. Give them flaws. Give them dimension. But everything it did that was forced. You need to like make it feel real, make it feel like you're not being manipulated.
The movie needs to keep moving though. It's different than Road to Perdition. You can't. It sets up the story with some dialogue, but it keeps going. It doesn't rest. That's the whole point. I mean, if you don't like that,
that's not the whole point. That is not the whole point. You need to tell a story.
Run All Night. It's got Liam Neeson in it. It's him shooting people. That's what it's for.
Not good enough. That sounds like an excuse.
No. It's
not get a pass for that.
If they had done what you were looking for, I probably wouldn't like the movie as much. The movie did deliver.
So what you're saying is the movie's made for the lowest common denominator, and that's where you fit in.
I think that if you're looking for an action movie and you want characters that are developed within that type of movie, I think that this was perfect.
Actually, Money caught that.
Let's look at Ed Harris's character. I mean, I think that they did a really good job of setting him up as a kind of almost like a Darth Vader-y, because I mean he's definitely got this good side to him where he's saying like, hey, I don't want to get involved with drugs, but then on the other side, I mean really what he's doing here is he's angry with his son, but he loves his son and he's trying to avenge his son. But he's being very
if Boyd Holbrook weren't such a jerk, and I was going to use a stronger word, but I didn't want to make J Money's mistake from last time. If Boyd Holbrook weren't such a jerk, and then it might have been more. There might have been something to that because he was so wrong So clearly, you know, he did everything wrong. Like almost to the point of I couldn't swallow the pill of the suspension of disbelief anymore.
But that's
thing
part
after thing he did unjustifiably wrong. Like there was no good reason for him to do the things he did that started the chain of events. No good reason except to move the story forward. That's not good enough. I want to understand why this character does these things instead of
JB.
He's a hothead. That's not good enough. Why is he a hothead?
The reason you don't have to explain his backstory is because a movie like this is taking stereotypes for characters basically that we all understand universally. It's not like there was any reason to actually establish it because they were not trying.
Okay, I don't think that's good enough. I mean that's shortcuts. That's not.
That is short. We're not saying this is phenomenal filmmaking. I think that we have to separate ourselves from this point.
I can't believe J Money is on this side of this, where you give a movie a pass for just being what it is.
I'm giving a movie a pass because ultimately
it doesn't have anything that a good film does, but it's just one of those Liam Neeson movies.
But it does have everything that a good Liam Neeson Neesploitation movie is. And by the way, I'm coining that phrase right now. Neesploitation is the exploitation of Liam Neeson specifically in his elder years to basically portray the same sort of redemptive grandpa character every time throughout now. He's a martyr that's obsessed with self-flagellation. And I think that the reason that people connect with these movies specifically is because of him alone. I don't think it's necessarily because of plot. I don't think it's necessarily because of any other characters. I don't think anyone really gave a shit, sorry, JB, about a lot of other development because clearly every character in this was completely two-dimensional. This was completely about people.
I don't agree with that, though.
Running through the booklet.
You're not. Have you met a three-dimensional person, Davie Joe? Have you met other people? I know you're in these hotel rooms all the time, but have you met and talked to other people for more than like an hour?
You didn't think that Ed Harris's character was complex? I mean,
no, I did not. Ed Harris was a one-note character like everyone else in this movie.
He was the best performance in the movie. As much as I love Boyd Holbrook, he wasn't given a lot to do.
But the thing is, that's the reason why these work because they're casting these actors, which at this point carry enough gravitas to themselves, to their own delivery, to elevate whatever the script is.
All right, but I mean, like in terms of the references to Heat, wow, that blows my mind that anyone would bother compare this movie. But let me just say, like, their relationship, their friendship, their connection was surface. It was nothing to it, nothing deep, nothing real.
Everything
that there was, but that's not good enough. It could, because you know what? It could be more. It wouldn't take much. It would take a little stronger dialogue. It would take maybe one more scene of them connecting before the murder. It does not require a lot, and so it's just sloppy and it's unnecessary. So when you give it a pass, just know that it would not have taken a lot of extra work or extra scenes to make this better.
I totally agree, but I also think we're talking about a very specific kind of picture, and I also think we're talking about a picture that is carried on the shoulders of, again, Liam Neeson, and he did exactly what he does the same way he does it all the time. And
right, but I mean, this movie was not successful. It was not the #1 movie of the box office.
I think that it will be fine in the long run, ultimately. And also, I'd like to point out the fact that it comes 9 weeks after Taken 3, another movie that does basically the same exact thing.
I mean, I have not seen Taken 3. Has anybody seen Taken 3?
No, I haven't seen it.
I don't have to see Taken 3. I'm going to tell you exactly what it's about. It's about a guy who's probably in his 60s who has to, in some way, find redemption through violence. That is what happens in these movies. And I think that people connect with these kind of movies because of Liam Neeson, not just as an actor, but also because as a human.
So, I mean, like, are you going to... so we can list a series of movies here, 3 of which were directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, who directed this movie. Taken kicked off the genre. I mean, there's also Taken 2 and Taken 3, Nonstop, Unknown, which is also Jaime Collet-Serra.
Yeah.
I mean, A Walk Among the Tombstones, I guess it has the same plot. It's based on a book, so and it's a little more with the serial killer plot of Walk Amongst the Tombstones. I feel like it's a little more in depth.
Do you doubt in any way that you probably have a grasp of what the performance is like in that movie?
What movie?
Any of them. Any of the movies you haven't seen.
Tombstones, I think.
I know. I mean, no. I heard terrible things about Nonstop, but
I'm sure that you understand what the character, like you understand what Liam Neeson's going to play.
Sure.
And there are slight variations. I mean, in this movie, you actually see him be more visible.
What I'm asking is, all right, so would you guys that like this movie, would you say this is the strongest of the Liam Neeson, this sub-genre that we've talked about?
Well, I haven't seen the other 2 by the director. So I mean, I'm not really qualified to make
So
that.
what have you seen? Is just this and Taken?
And Taken 2, and I've seen this. And I saw Walk Amongst the Tombstones, but I don't think it's the same thing.
Okay, so what's the best?
Yeah, either this or the first Taken. They're close.
I don't think it's even remotely close. The first Taken is an action masterpiece, which I mean, like, I think
it's an action masterpiece. What are you? Are
yeah.
you the one smoking over there? What are you doing? What are you talking about?
The first Taken.
Action.
Look, I'm not alone on the first Taken. First Taken is extraordinary.
The first Taken is as generic as this. The first Taken is a ridiculous it is a fun romp. The first Taken is a B movie that got elevated into whatever territory it is. It managed to establish a genre, which is great, but it was a solid B movie at best.
But I mean, like, there's a lot of good B movies. Like, I don't necessarily use that term as derogatory.
Fine. You know what? I'll send.
Are B movies, or were considered B movies. You know, like the original Invasion of Body Snatchers, for example.
Yeah, but they're good movies in spite of the fact that they have subpar material, and that's the difference we're talking about here. This is a good movie in spite of the fact.
I think Taken's a great example of that. A great movie in spite of maybe not the best script. Taken's a great example of great directing, at least for the action scenes. I think I made the point last week where if someone else had directed the first 5 minutes and last 5 minutes of Taken, it might have been nearly perfect. But once they hit the journey and they were on the road and you got the phone call and all that stuff, like shot for shot, great work. Because it wasn't.
How can you complain about the flimsiness of characters in this movie after claiming the success of Taken? The Taken had.
I think Taken does have. It has the great character development. I mean, it only takes the time.
What character development did you see in Taken exactly? Was it the daughter being held the entire time? Was that the character development for you?
I mean, no, I thought she was. I thought she was real and developed. I thought certainly. I mean, like once she was kidnapped, he was focused on one thing, and I bought that.
To begin with, he was a paranoid father figure, and he was playing to an audience that definitely spoke to fears about. Kind of a.
There was also the guilt of him being away, and guilt over his past and things.
Such a contrived situation for that reason. I mean, they were speaking to very specific concerns in modern parenting.
I mean, like it's all about the way the handles, and I think it's all direction. Like Pierre Morel versus Sarah. I mean, I think it was all. It's all in what Pierre Morel does with that, and I think that the anguish of Liam Neeson in Taken that fuels him throughout the film is a lot more grounded and believable, for sure.
Well, here's why I disagree with you about that. I think that the anguish that fuels Liam Neeson in general in these movies is palpable and everything, because I also think that you cannot divorce yourself from the idea that Liam Neeson, as a human being, went through a tragic event. And I think that that's part of the reason that people accept this character so willingly and without question. Because I think that he's always, as an actor...
I don't think Natasha Richardson's death...
We're talking about what an audience actually expects, JB. We're talking about what an audience sees.
Honestly, I don't even think that most audiences know that.
I totally disagree with you about that. It was a very public thing that he did after the events of his first wife's death. He went on many interviews. He talked openly about the kind of grief he had. And as an actor, even before that, he was a character that often portrayed what seemed to be kind of a weighty concern behind his eyes. Now he's legitimized. Now he's had this act that actually legitimizes what he's become. And I think that people are kind of aware of that in his movies, and they give him somewhat of a free pass.
I think you're reading way too much into that. I don't think
I don't think you're reading into that at all. I think that people are completely aware.
I think if anything, like maybe Taken feels like the best film because I mean, like this is a theory. I think it is the best film, but maybe because it was first, it feels like the most vital. It's hard to say because obviously I saw it first. But it certainly felt vital, real, and effective at the time.
I thought it was such a ridiculous joke at the time. I mean, I had fun with it, but I thought it was a ridiculous joke of a movie.
But you're going to sit here and tell me Run All Night is stronger than Taken.
I'm going to sit here and tell you that Run All Night is simpler than Taken, and in that sense it works. But I don't think that they're better movies necessarily.
I think it's in the same realm. They're in the same ballpark. I mean,
like, I'm not going to say they're in the same genre, but I mean, like, all these things, I mean, like, Taken was the original, and everything else feels like a retread. So, I mean, but, that doesn't shine a negative light on Taken. It was first, and it was strong.
Well, I also think maybe you could make the argument that the action was shot better in Taken than in Run All Night.
Without a doubt. The one good scene that I had listed here, do you guys want to guess what you thought, what I thought was a good scene in Run All Night?
Please don't say the car chase.
I was not going to say the car chase.
Okay, good.
Can I guess? I'm going to guess the very end sequence.
No, I thought that was bad too. The apartment complex sequence I thought was.
Yeah, that was a total wreck. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. Like, I mean, from like an editing point of view, and certainly, yeah, the way that the sequences were, the way that the sequence was put together, and like all the elements coming together.
Huge letdown.
I disagree. I mean, like in terms of a huge letdown in terms of being like a showpiece, or a huge letdown in terms of like, and it didn't have this huge climax, you know. But I mean, it's the way that it was built up, and the shots were cutting from, you know, the way that it was cross-cut from inside to outside and things like that. I thought that was pretty strong.
I think that it started strong. I think that it certainly promised a lot of things were going to happen in the sequence, and then it kind of petered out at the end, and really it didn't end up mattering. You know,
Well, I mean, that doesn't bother me any sort of problem. I mean, like, I still feel like even the setup alone, like, I don't necessarily need some sort of like orgasmic conclusion to the sequence. I mean, like,
well, okay, you don't need an orgasmic conclusion, but a conclusion would be nice one way or the other. And I think that that's a problem with
there is a conclusion in that the sequence ended.
Yes, it ended. It ended in the sense that they decided to cut from one scene to another, and that was the end of it. There certainly wasn't actually any resolution with it.
I mean, I see your point with that aspect of it, but I mean, the actual sequence itself was strong. You know, like up until the end of it, like I can see that. It didn't bother me. That didn't bother me so much. I have two other things I want to say about the film, and they're all sort of like, you know, continuity story things. Did Boyd Holbrook have a shave in between his first and second scene? Did anybody else notice that?
What? Say that again?
Did Boyd Holbrook's character, Danny, did he have a massive shave in between his first scene with Liam Neeson and then when he was meeting with Ed Harris? I mean, it seemed like he had almost no facial hair all of a sudden.
I can see that. I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Wasn't there like a massive continuity error? I mean, I guess you could argue that he shaved for the meeting with his dad, but in the sense of a movie that takes place over the course of 16 hours, I didn't buy it.
I mean, the impression is that he was always greasy. It just seemed like he had a consistent level of grease to him that was kind of...
No, but I mean, he actually had like a beard like mine, like, or facial hair like Scruff, and then he was completely clean shaven in the very next.
You're absolutely right. I remember this now. You're
It
right.
was time. He could have shaved.
Davie Joe defending it to the end, and the second thing is where I'm gonna play J Money here. Where the fuck did Uncle Eddie come from? They had no mention of Uncle Eddie, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, Nick Nolte comes out of this movie as Uncle Eddie.
Oh my
and
God!
I mean, like, what the hell was that?
No, I absolutely agree.
And then he comes out again.
But I absolutely agree with you, and also it's so happy to see that they could finally reanimate Nick Nolte for a few minutes. Like, what the hell is going on with Nick Nolte? That was, I mean, it was sort of like I spent the entire 5 minutes of that scene being like, is that Nick Nolte? I think it's Nick Nolte. No, that can't be Nick Nolte. Oh wait,
Loved
that's
Nick Nolte.
Nolte.
Loved Nick Nolte. Served a great purpose. He told us what cousin doing.
Clunky expositional purpose. It was clunky exposition. The only flashback in the film. It was the only flashback. He set up this only flashback in the film that didn't seem to match with anything else. There's no other flashbacks. It's clunky exposition that didn't work with anything. And you know, it felt to me, it felt completely added. It felt like.
It was. This is Nick Nolte. Hey guys, look, Nick Nolte.
That's not a proper motivation for a movie. That's not the reasons were to do exposition to complicate the relationship between Joel Kinnaman and Liam Neeson, and they threw in this flashback, and it was total add-on, and it was sloppy Band-Aid BS.
It was, and it was totally unnecessary. Why did we need to have another step back with the relationship between Liam Neeson and Joel Kinnaman and Liam Neeson in this movie? It didn't really necessarily have to happen that way, and also. It left one of the most unsettling sequences. The showing, and this has popped up a lot recently, showing Liam Neeson playing himself younger and then tacking on a computer-generated younger face on him at one point was really unsettling, actually, in a lot of ways. It was a very quick thing, but it just did not play. And then you cut back to Nick Nolte, who, by the way, really should reprise his role as Down and Out in Beverly Hills, because now he is the crazy homeless guy under your bridge. Like, he is a scary, scary guy in real life at this point. I don't know about him.
Remember when he used to be an awesome actor, like the early 90s, like Prince of Tides, Oil, Here?
Remember when Liam Neeson was nominated for an Oscar because of Oscar Schindler? I mean, you know, everything changes.
Yes, that was his only Oscar nomination. And the year after that, he did a movie I really liked called Rob Roy. But
you guys are...
it feels like you dislike the
You're both wrong.
but I feel like J Money dislikes this movie, but I feel like he's like feeling guilty about disliking the other movies and is using this as an excuse to come around.
No, but JB, sorry, you're JB. JB, forest for the trees. You have to put everything in context here. I mean, maybe I went with low expectations. Maybe that's ultimately what it comes down to. I expected this to be a relatively
that was my situation with Chappie. I mean, I went into this with low expectations as well, and they didn't even meet those.
Yeah, but the reason I'm satisfied is because this movie didn't try to be anything else than what it was ostensibly going to be. It did what it was ostensibly going to be. Fine. It was a very competent movie. I was never bored in this movie. I just felt like it was nothing going on in this movie.
All right. First of all, you guys are wrong about the Nick Nolte thing. You're wrong about it. The Nick Nolte, it served a purpose, and the purpose was that you may have been forgetting that this is Jimmy the friggin' Gravedigger. Like, they had to bring that back. I mean, it serves a purpose. It brings you back to Earth. It's like, this is a guy who's turned it around, who's become a different person. That's the transformation. I mean, you can buy it or you cannot buy it, but that's what that scene was about. And
I'm not saying it didn't serve a purpose. What I'm saying is the purpose it served was not worthwhile. Like, it was clunky exposition. I saw what they were thinking, and it was done poorly. That's the kind of thing that you need to, as a screenwriter, needs to handle, with a softer touch, because you don't want to feel like you're broadsiding your audience.
But I don't think there was wasn't there an allusion to the cousin earlier in the movie? I mean, I feel like
they talked about him. They didn't talk about Uncle Eddie, certainly, but they talked about Cousin Billy, and I think J Money is right in the sense, like, it's not that the actual backstory wasn't really necessary, and it's the kind of thing that Taken might have refused to do, and was better for it. It was better for not forcing emotion or unnecessary character backstory where it didn't play. I mean, like, I'm all about three-dimensional characters, but not shoehorned in there. All right, so we're going to agree to disagree again. I think it's time to move on. We're 30 seconds.
One more thing.
10 seconds. I just want to point out one thing. This is a plausibility issue that I had. I feel like if you're two of the most, or the two most wanted people in New York City, they're probably going to have cops at your house. Probably can't go back there. The fact that they did that was kind of shocking.
Not only that, but I mean, for God's sakes, if he lives in an awful, slimy apartment, clearly down on his luck. We're talking about Liam Neeson now, but he has a freaking cottage in the North Shore. Why doesn't he live there? Why doesn't he live in that North Shore cottage? It's beautiful. It's picturesque. And I mean, like, why doesn't he live there? It's gorgeous. And he lives in an awful, awful apartment with no money. But he has this cottage just sitting there unused for years.
He works for Ed Harris, man. You can't work for Ed Harris from the cottage.
If he works for Ed Harris, then he should live in a better apartment or commute from the North Shore.
Maybe that's different money. That's a different movie. You're talking about Deer Hunter. That's a whole different. That might be the sequel. I don't know.
All right.
I have one more thing as well.
No, but they're more likely to be a sequel to Cinderella than there will be to this movie.
Well, that definitely seems true. I have one more point as well, just before we go off on this. I want to go back to the whole thing about what I think is the emotional heart of this movie, which is Liam Neeson seeming believable as a painful character. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I read something recently over the weekend that the exit poll on this was that 52% of the audience was actually female, which is kind of a surprise in this situation. It's surprising to hear that such a large portion of the audience was, not what I would consider the intended target for this audience, and also that they were over 86% of that apparently was over 25, which is also not entirely surprising. But I do think that this speaks to what I think drives all these movies specifically. I think it's about Liam Neeson's performance as a tragic character, and whether or not you want to find his pain believable or not, that's fine. Whether or not you want to say that it's because you have certain other realistic events that can tie into it, that's fine. But I do think that Liam Neeson's success derives entirely from him seeming like he's in pain.
I agree with that.
I wonder how long that can last.
I wonder how long he can physically do it.
He is 63. Ed Harris is 65. They both seemed weary, and they were written in roles that seemed
weary because their script was terrible. So yeah, I think you do a little too much research and try and justify the movie somehow. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know if it has any
scientists would call that facts, JB.
not necessarily relevance in terms of the quality of the film. Anyway, all right, we're going to move on to the indie spotlight. So I'm going to go back. It's my turn to do the indie spotlight again because Davie Joe does not live in a metropolitan area, he travels anywhere. He's in a new hotel room again tonight. So we never know where he's going to be, but he doesn't get the movies that we get. Not that any of our indie films have been any recent. And I'm going to go back 2 years for this film because it just occurred to me that I felt like it needed to be mentioned because it was actually, I saw it in the early 2014, and it was the best film that I saw all of 2014, even though it was released in 2013. And it's a foreign indie called The Hunt. I'm going to say it's a Finnish or Danish film. I should have done a research into that. But it stars Mads Mikkelsen. Have you guys seen it?
No.
Have you heard of it?
Yes.
No, I hadn't heard of it.
All right, so that's your assignment for next week to take a look at The Hunt. J Money's got plenty of assignments, it sounds like. But The Hunt is about a school teacher, a very good school teacher, played by Mads Mikkelsen. You guys know Mads Mikkelsen from Casino Royale or Hannibal on television.
Yeah.
He's a very good school teacher that a young girl, 9-ish years old, has a crush on him. And because her crush is rebuffed, she suggests to her parents that she was inappropriately touched. Or suggests that there was something going on there. And suddenly he becomes the pride of the town, under investigation, can't really grocery shop anymore. It's about how a town sort of reacts to this potential child molester.
Yeah.
And we have Megan's Law in this country as a result of this stuff like that. So it's a fascinating subject, a very well handled, and even though Davie Joe, are you still there, Davie Joe?
I'm here. I hear you.
I'm not getting your image. Oh, there you are. So yeah. So I don't. Do you hate foreign films? You refuse?
No, I'll watch it.
Anyway, so I highly recommend it to you guys and also our viewing audience. The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen. My number one film everyone knows for last year's Fury, but the actual best film I saw throughout the calendar year 2014 is The Hunt.
Oh, wow.
Mads Mikkelsen. So
wow, okay.
Even better than Fury. Very complex emotionally.
I think he's a great actor. I honestly really love him as an actor, just in general. I've loved everything that I've seen him in, and I hope to continue seeing him cast in all these kind of roles again, because he just manages to pull in such a weightiness to everything that I love, And it's also probably the best performance I saw all year. He's outstanding in it, and it's one of those films that I don't know got enough attention. Like all his movies, basically,
Yeah, but even in the metropolitan areas, it sort of went under the radar. But it's, and other people that I've seen have been like, yeah, that was probably the best movie I saw in a long time. So I realize I've been talking on Indie Spotlights about more recent films from 2014. That was technically from 2013, but because we're only 4 shows in, I felt it was worthwhile to mention.
That's fair.
You know if it's on Netflix?
I do not know.
Okay.
So anyway, all right. So now we move on to the classic movie of the week. It's pretty clear what this one is. I'll move. Can you guys see?
Yep.
All right. So and then I wore my Irish hat today too. This is the Irish. Do you see the shamrock here? Where is it? There you go. My Irish Yankee hat. So this is not a movie we screened recently, except that I'm going to screen it tomorrow. We screen it every St. Patrick's Day. It's a John Ford film called The Quiet Man, and it sort of celebrates Irish heritage. I don't suppose either of you guys have seen it.
I haven't.
I have not. Like everything else we talk about in terms of your classic movie screenings, I basically have not seen most of them.
Okay, well anyway, this is and it's another John Wayne film. John Ford and John Wayne worked together a lot. John Ford actually won Best Director for it in 1952. It did not win Best Picture. It was beat by The Greatest Show on Earth, which is generally considered to be the worst Best Picture winner of all time. About the circus, I don't recommend it, but if you want to see a disaster, you can see Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth. Crazy movie. But basically, John Wayne plays an American from Pittsburgh who returns to Ireland to reclaim his roots. He had lived there as like a 3 or 4-year-old before his family moved. He and his family moved to Pittsburgh, and he's moving back, buys his old family cottage, et cetera, and tries to get involved with the town, and you know, it's about culture issues, but also, you know, he also plays a man with a past. It's also about men and women issues in a way that's handled. I mean, I feel like when I ever show it to modern audiences, they struggle a little bit with it because it seems outdated in that regard, because it's not only outdated because it's 1952, but it's also it also takes place earlier than that, and it takes place in Ireland, which is even a little further back than we were in terms of male-female issues. Like, there's actually courting, and the main plot point is basically once they are married, the lovely Maureen O'Hara, she does not want to, basically, she doesn't want to go to bed with him even after they're married because her brother won't pay her dowry, and he needs, you know, and she wants John Wayne to get her dowry for them to officially be married, and that's like the central plot point, which doesn't feel like a major conflict to modern audiences, but you know, I buy that it is to them. One thing is, have you guys seen the film E.T.?
Yes.
No.
You've not seen E.T.?
No, I'm lying. Of course I've seen E.T. What the?
In the movie E.T., there's a scene where E.T.'s watching television.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Elliot's in the classroom, and he's watching a movie where John Wayne spins a girl into a kiss. You remember that? And in the classroom, Elliot spins Erica Eleniak into a kiss. Remember the frogs everywhere?
Eleniak?
Yep.
That movie is The Quiet Man. It was my dad's favorite movie. I've even got a poster here. One of the 2 posters. I don't know if you can see it. It's all broken and stuff. But in fact, my sister was supposed to be. My dad liked the movie so much that Maureen O'Hara character's name is Mary Kate Danaher. And my dad liked the movie so much, when my sister was going to be born, he was going to name her Mary Kate. But 3 days before that, my dad's brother had a daughter, and this was his favorite movie as well. And so he named his daughter Mary Kate. So I have a cousin named Mary Kate instead of a sister. And if I was born a girl, I would have been Mary Kate. So that's sort of like the backstory of this movie. Unfortunately, in terms of our brackets, last year, because I screen it every year on St. Patrick's Day, it has already been defeated in both the 50s bracket. It was beat by Father of the Bride. And in the Best Picture Losers bracket, you know, all the Best Picture nominees that didn't win, the best of those, it was beat kind of understandably by Goodfellas.
Sure.
Have you guys seen the original Father of the Bride of Spencer Tracy?
Yes.
I haven't.
You guys got some work to do. Have you seen at least Steve Martin, Father of the Bride?
Oh, no, I said yes. Thank you very much.
Anyone saw it.
I know you said yes. I meant Davie Joe has some work to do.
All right.
All right. So anyway, moving on to next week's film. I spelled it wrong. So we decided we needed to we need to, like, you know, see movies that are more in the social consciousness a little bit. So you know, we're going to the Zeitgeist movie that opens next week. The big movie that's probably going to be number 1 is going to be the sequel to Divergent, Insurgent. So we're going to take a look at it. I'm the only one of us that so far has seen Divergent. I just watched it recently, and I actually thought it was a lot more interesting than I thought it'd be. I avoided it when it was in theaters. I took a peek, and I mean, I thought it was actually a lot more interesting than I thought it'd be. I had some issues with it and some questions about it. There are things about it that I don't understand, but the actual execution of it, I think, is what makes it strong. Now, J Money is going to try. He's thinking about maybe next week reviewing Insurgent without having seen Divergent. Is that the plan?
We'll see what happens with my schedule, but I mean, I think that if I'm the odd man out in this situation, it's not necessarily going to hurt us in terms of offering a different perspective, because, you know, it should still kind of stand on its own legs one way or the other, even if I'm not really necessarily familiar with the plot entirely.
I mean, the one thing I'll say about Divergent is the plot is what bothers me. Like, I don't, the world that it lives in, I don't completely understand, and I that's true of Hunger Games for me as well.
JB,
I don't completely understand the premises, but the actual execution of the film I thought was really fascinating.
All right, so you have a problem with the basic premise of the movie, but not necessarily the way that it plays out.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually thought Shailene Woodley in particular acquitted herself very well, and I really I bought her character conflicts. and she carried the movie in a lot of ways. I don't want to. I mean, Davie Joe is going to watch it this week. Is that right, Davie Joe?
Yeah, I'll see it.
So I don't want to say too much, but I do want to say that next week I would love to, hopefully have a broader discussion too about the whole YA. Today we talked about the subsect of Liam Neeson films. Now we've got this whole YA genre and all the films. Like not only these, but we can talk about, it branches off into the Twilights, the Maze Runner, possibly Percy Jackson films. And there's a new one that just got sold called Blackbird, and how it all even offshoots into something like 50 Shades of Grey. So, I mean, that's sort of like, we have some grander topics, I think, to talk about for next time.
Yeah, sure. It sounds like a lot of movies I haven't seen. So.
And maybe there's a reason you haven't seen them, but I mean, let's take a look at Divergent and Insurgent, and maybe we can talk about. I'm looking forward to it. I like it for what it's worth. Have you guys not even seen the Hunger Games films?
No.
I have seen the Hunger Games films. And I'd like to add, JB, I think it's kind of funny that we're going to dovetail this, because this week we're clearly spending time talking about a franchise that is indicative of a whole other sort of, theme that we've been seeing through Hollywood lately of kind of sexagenarian or older actors portraying action stars. I mean, Liam Neeson's not really the only one doing this. There's also the Red series. There's also there's a new movie starring Sean Penn coming out this week, which is basically the same premise.
In fairness, the Red series almost seems like a joke on these other films. Like, it almost seems to be self-aware, tongue-in-cheek.
Sure. Well, just like The Expendables, right? Which is kind of the same idea. It's a tongue-in-cheek interpretation of what it is. But ultimately, we're still talking about these people that are pushing their 60s, starring in action roles, and there clearly is an audience for it. So now we're going to switch gears and go to the opposite end of the spectrum and work on YA, in kind of the same sort of genre trappings.
I think it's also really interesting that, I said that we're going to talk about Maze Runner and Percy Jackson as well, but the majority of these films, certainly the most successful of them, are female-oriented heroes, and I think that's something certainly unique to this generation.
Yeah.
It's something to examine and explore for next week. All right, Davie Joe, why don't you say your farewell?
It's been fun. You're wrong, but it's been fun.
Okay. Closing thoughts, Money.
Kill all humans. Kill all humans. Robots.
Wait, I got one more.
Okay.
Run All Night. Also better than Boyhood.
Oh wow.
I mean, I think by saying these things, Davie Joe, you are making it very clear in the audience who to trust. And in case you missed the suggestion, it's not you.
Well, or everyone understands that I like antagonizing you, so that's.
I think you maybe suggest that. I like Boyhood a lot, but it's certainly in my wheelhouse. But I mean, if you think it's actually hurting my feelings, I think you don't
like Run All Night because things happened, and I don't think you like things happening in movies.
What was my #1 movie of the year last year?
I know. It was a good pick. Yuri.
All right. So, all right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Another successful episode, and this might be our shortest one yet, 53 minutes.
Hey, we're
getting it down. But hopefully people are watching. We are getting feedback. So, hopefully that'll continue. Next week we're gonna review what seemingly is a big-ish film. So, maybe we'll get some more viewers. And my recommendation: see Little Accidents, see The Hunt, see The Quiet Man. Don't see Run All Night. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you guys. Oh, I think we're on a Tuesday next week. That's very important.
Yep. Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 24th is next week. So I'm glad we're
Raw now.
Guys, are we in the same time next week?
Same time. Let's do the same time.
Yeah.
All right. That means Davie Joe gets to watch wrestling. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your week. Before we go, I'm going to read all 68 names of teams that made it to the Final Four. To the bracket. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your week.